All right, it is game day. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. Chase Sr. here with you. And coming up here on the show, our Eagles-Patriots preseason preview. Going to take a look at the top storylines, top players to watch in this game for Philadelphia. Bringing you this video from the at-home studio because I'm about to go into the Chat Sports studios. And speaking of that, make sure you join us tonight. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell icon, turn on your notifications, and join us for our Eagles-Patriots watch party. Going to be going live an hour before the game for a pregame show alongside producer Chip. Show starts at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 o'clock Pacific. See you in a few hours. Can't wait for it. Nick Sirianni was going to give his starters run in the Eagles preseason opener during the matchup against the Baltimore Ravens. But it rained throughout the day in Baltimore, so Sirianni said after the game that's why he kept the offense off the field. The first-string defense did play a lot. What happens tonight? Well, earlier this week in Foxborough, in the shadow of Gillette Stadium, the Eagles dominated the Patriots in their joint practice. They produced turnovers, which the defense hadn't been able to do throughout training camp because Jalen Hurts has still not thrown an interception. They were able to generate a pass rush against whichever quarterback the Patriots trotted out there, from Jacoby Brissett to Drake May. The Eagles' offense was really good. Jalen Hurts was surgical. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith winning a lot of their one-on-ones. John Ross popped. Saquon Barkley cooked Matthew Judon on a wheel route, and then a day later the Patriots were like, we'll send you to the Atlanta Falcons for a third-round pick. I'm joking, but point here is that the Eagles played very, very well against New England in that joint practice. So because of that, and the ones getting extended run against another opponent, another team, we might not see the starters tonight. I hope that at some point, either tonight or in the preseason finale against the Vikings at Lincoln Financial Field, the lone home game for Philadelphia in the preseason, that the starters get some runway. I do think it's important to knock off the cobwebs, get on the field, get some live game reps in before taking on a very formidable and difficult opponent in the Green Bay Packers in Brazil. So with that, let's shift to my players to watch if the starters, and many of the starters do not play. Want to continue to see development and progress from Quinyon Mitchell. Can he build off of what he did against Baltimore when he looked really good? Got to start on the outside opposite of Isaiah Rodgers, got some slot reps. Vic Fangio saying this week, we might have to play him at slot just to get our best cornerbacks on the field together. That's a smart approach. You want as much talent on both sides of the football on the field as possible. And he had that really good pass breakup on that third and long when he was playing on the inside in the slot. Vic Fangio, James Bradbury, they've talked about how important communication is from that inside slot nickel role. It's different from being on the outside when you're on that island. So I think that Quinyon Mitchell needs some more game reps so that he's in a good position to master the slot nickel position against a Packers team that can run 4 wide receivers wide, and they have 2 really good tight ends, and Jordan Love really started to come on the back half of the year last year, and then as we know, Green Bay just dump trucked the Dallas Cowboys in the wild card round before almost beating the top-seeded Niners in the divisional round. Will Shipley, very impressive against New England as well. The rookies really showed out in that preseason opener against Baltimore, I should say. Looking forward to seeing what Shipley can do against New England. So comfortable with catching the ball out of the backfield. He brought surprising power and physicality to his running ability, and that's something that I wanted to see. You know, at Clemson, he was such a highly touted recruit for Dabo Swinney, and he did a little bit of everything, running in between the tackles, to the perimeter, catching the ball out of the backfield, catching some balls out of the slot. And he's a really intriguing weapon that I think the Eagles can use right from the jump as a rookie, because we saw a lot of those skills translate against Baltimore. I'm interested to see how long of a runway he gets against the Patriots here tonight. Jeremiah Trotter Jr., another rookie who balled out against Baltimore. Instincts, feel, diagnosing plays, play speed, looks the part physically. He's able to make up for his lack of athletic testing and lack of speed with just knowing ball and having the ability to foresee plays before they happen. Had a TFL, special teams tackle, a sack. Could he start sooner rather than later as an off-ball linebacker? Football obviously runs through the bloodlines for Jeremiah Trotter Jr., and he looks and plays like an all-pro son. Johnny Wilson has had a good training camp. While at Florida State, played smaller than his 6'6" frame, ran some sloppy routes, dropped some passes. Struggled a little bit in one-on-ones against New England, didn't really do much against Baltimore. Can he win the wide receiver 3 role? Paris Campbell's been hurt. John Ross not getting a lot of separation in game action last week against Baltimore, despite him performing well against New England in that joint practice. He's such an intriguing player at 6'6", and the more rookies that you can get impacting your team right from the jump, the more ideal the situation is, because you want to be able to restack that cupboard with as much youthful talent as possible. There's a lot of pressure on Ainias Smith. He really might not make the team as a former 5th-round pick. That's where he was drafted, right? Let me just double-check that. I don't want to give out any fake news. Yes, 5th-round pick. And I voiced this concern last week, right? In the pre-draft process at 5'9", 5'10", he tested poorly. He ran a 4.5 40-yard dash. When you're that small, oftentimes you run fast. Ainias Smith did not run fast. I know that he had to undergo shin surgery this offseason, but he looked small and played slow and didn't do anything as a returner, and that could be his path to maybe making the team. And as a wide receiver, he had that one catch late in the game as the Eagles were trying to march down the field to win the game. Cool. Didn't really impress me on that play either. So pressure on Ainias Smith to perform well and show something, otherwise might not make the 53 as a draft pick. Jake Elliott. I'm not overly concerned about Jake Elliott. He's still one of the best kickers in the game, right? But he missed a PAT and the potential game-winning field goal last week against Baltimore. The good news is, thanks to Patrick Johnson and the wonderful strip sack that he had to turn the football over with a few seconds left to lead to the redemption Jake Elliott game-winning field goal, he did overcome that miss. The mental aptitude and mental fortitude of him being able to come back and make that kick and send it through the uprights was great. But the fact that he missed a PAT and a clutch kick, which he seemingly never misses, if he has more misses tonight, that's somewhat unsettling at a mentally fickle position. Going to be keeping my eye on the backup quarterbacks. Kenny Pickett, Tanner McKee. I still think Tanner McKee can unseat Kenny Pickett as this team's QB2. Kenny Pickett was not great against Baltimore, didn't really let it fly downfield. Tanner McKee's numbers weren't superb, but I saw what he did last year. I like his size. I like his arm strength better than Kenny Pickett. He made quicker decisions with the football as a second-year player with not as much experience as Kenny Pickett. And right when he came into the game, Eagles march down the field and they score, and the offense just seemed to be more in rhythm with Tanner McKee. Kenny Pickett's lone touchdown throw, it was the screen pass to Will Shipley on a good design and good scheme from Kellen Moore. But Tanner McKee, I think, could be the better option than Kenny Pickett as QB2. I was saying that going into the preseason opener, and tonight, can McKee get some snaps with the second-string offense to have an opportunity to win the backup role? If Pickett plays well and gets extended run with the twos, I think the Eagles have their minds made up that Pickett is the backup to Jalen Hurts. Nakobe Dean, he has had a good training camp, and against New England, started to get some run with the ones. He was also very good in that joint practice against the Patriots. Very disruptive player. Can he beat out Zach Bond? I think that he's going to get extended run here tonight, and if he performs well, off-ball linebacker alongside Devin White, a position that we're going to continue to keep our eyes peeled on. Keely Ringo, he has had a good training camp. It's not like Isaiah Rodgers has played well and Keely Ringo has not to beat him out. Both players have performed really well. Isaiah Rodgers has just had a great spring and a great training camp, and he's held off Keely Ringo because he continues to play well. Keely Ringo had a couple of really good reps against Baltimore. A pass breakup in the end zone on former Temple legend Keith Kirkwood, and then a really good play on the near sideline, I believe right before recess at halftime on a long ball where Kelee Ringo showed some good ball instincts. Speed, physicality, size. Kelee Ringo's a really good player. The good news is whatever happens at cornerback 2 on the outside, because I think Quinyon Mitchell's going to start on the inside, Darius Slay on the other side, the Eagles are finally deep at the cornerback spot. But can Kelee Ringo beat out Isaiah Rodgers? And speaking of Rodgers, want to see what he can do in the new kickoff return. If he plays a lot, I think the competition is still open. If Isaiah Rodgers does not play a lot, the Eagles' actions speak loudly there, and he may have cornerback 2 locked down. The RB4 situation, you think about where the Eagles are at, Saquon Barkley the starter, Kenneth Gainwell, Will Shipley, the 2 and 3. I think at some point maybe Will Shipley can get more snaps than Kenneth Gainwell if he can make strides with his pass blocking, because you have to be relied upon in that area. But all of the RB4s or players battling for the RB4 spot, I thought they played well. Lou Nichols, Kendall Milton, Ty Davis-Price. Ty Davis-Price put up the best numbers against Baltimore. He just really struggles with pass blocking and catching the ball out of the backfield. But he's a very talented runner. And are the Eagles going to even hold on to 4 running backs on the opening initial 53 because they're deep at other positions? Tyler Steen, he has lost his starting role to Mekhi Becton. Does Mekhi Becton play tonight? If he does, how does he play at a new position? He might need to continue to get his feet wet at right guard. Tyler Steen, does he get the start if Becton does not? Does Tyler Steen get a lot of snaps as a backup tonight? And how does he play within those snaps? Because either way, backup right guard is an important position for this team. Paris Campbell, he was limited earlier this week in the joint practice, so I'm not sure he's going to play tonight. What do you know? He's injured once again. He's always injured. And John Ross led the Eagles in receiving, didn't really put up good numbers in that game, so it was more of the Eagles not producing a lot of big plays through the air against Baltimore. Had a good joint practice against New England. If he pops tonight, do the Eagles look at him as a player who is quick, can get vertical, and in turn, can he make the team? Again, I look at wide receiver like I look at cornerback and running back. How many do they keep? At corner, Eli Ricks could be on the outside looking in. At running back, some good players could be on the outside looking in. At wide receiver, you might have to let go of a John Ross and an Ainias Smith. Nolan Smith had that sack deep into the third quarter, week 1 against Baltimore. Does he play a lot tonight? I want to continue to see him make strides in his development. I want to continue to see Nolan Smith knock off some of the rawness to his game. I think it's important for a player who barely played last year to just play as much as possible, because I'm a believer in the prospect, I'm a believer in the player, and I think that he can be really good in this league. Moro Ojomo at defensive tackle. Milton Williams was asked this week which player he thinks on the defense can really break out. He said Moro Ojomo. He's been bringing it. He's been taking these meetings seriously. He's seen some development from the former late-round draft pick out of Texas, who's still really young. And if Moro Ojomo also performs well, he could really be in the rotation at defensive tackle, because Jordan Davis is an unknown commodity, and Moro Ojomo could see some snaps. And then lastly, the backup tight end role. Behind Dallas Goedert, it is unsettled. Grant Calcaterra has the inside track, but he didn't practice in that joint practice against New England. CJ Uzama is more of a blocking type, not nearly the athlete that Grant Calcaterra is, who had to medically retire in college due to concussion issues. Albert Okwa-Abanom, excellent athlete, just can't put it all together. And he was banged up earlier this week. So the backup tight end role is undecided. And if the Eagles aren't confident in who backs up Dallas Goedert, do they look at the waiver wire? Do they look to make a trade for a backup across the NFL? So that is our Eagles-Patriots preseason preview, top players to watch. I will see you in a few hours right here on Eagles Now. You might be watching this as we're live. If that's the case and you see that red circle around the Eagles Now logo that says live, join us. Eagles Patriots watch party, live play-by-play, audience interaction, pregame show, postgame show. The most exciting place to experience an Eagles game day outside of being at the actual game. Super Chat giveaways, Super Chat MVP. It's going to be awesome, and I'll see you soon.